What's up with my channel? I am DJ Token Black Guy here for the first time. Hit that like button, subscribe button. So I watched episode 5 of Last of Us last night. Another good, solid episode. It's probably one of my favorite episodes. A lot of action and stuff, and another emotional episode towards the end. Basically, we picked up where we met Sam and Henry when they had Joel and Ellie at gunpoint, and they do a little flashback, and we got a real good backstory of Henry and Sam situation, and also I can't remember her name right now, Pam, whatever, the leader of the resistance, that took down Fedra. We find out her brother was the one that was the former resistance leader, and that Sam and Henry gave him up information, and that's why she's out hunting them. But I like how they did the story. And this one, Sam was actually deaf, which is not from the game, which I think, in them changing it, kind of made it more a little personal, because with the sign language and him writing stuff, he had to be like more face to face, and watching him and Ellie interact was really nice, seeing two kids be kids in this situation. But Henry tells Joel that he can lead him out the city, but he gotta go through tunnels, and the tunnels have affected down there, and they make it through, but then they end up getting caught by the resistance people, and through all that, the big explosion happens, and from the last episode, that little tunnel, it releases a whole bunch of the infected, including a bloater. The bloater was badass, I ain't gonna lie, that thing was badass and looked just like the game. But this is a quick little recap and everything, but I really enjoyed the episode. A lot of action in this episode, a lot of emotion, especially the end. I mean, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, when the whole thing with Sam getting affected, and then Henry having to kill him, and then feeling so guilty about it, he, took his own life. It's so sad. And kudos to the writers and the actors in this show, because they get the emotion across very well. And I was all teary eyed and everything, because being an older brother, I always wonder, is my responsibility to take care of my younger brother, even though he's in his 30s and got his own family now. Still, I'm the big brother, I'm the oldest, it's my job to protect. So it's kind of hit close to home and everything. But really good episode. I'm really enjoying this series. I know they've changed some things, but in all, the change that they've done have not taken away from the story itself, unlike some other shows. Talking to you, Halo. As long as you stay true to the core of what the story is, and you're telling the right story, I think for the most part, people are okay with some of the changes and liberties you're taking. I didn't expect it to be, word for word, scene by scene, from the game, because they only have 9 episodes and to play the game. But they changed some things, whether the Bill situation, and then now little things here and there. I'm really enjoying the show, and I've talked to people who haven't played the game, and they're loving the show. So if you go in with that mindset of, okay, it's not going to be exactly like the game, but it's staying true to the game, I think you will enjoy the show. But without further ado, let's jump over to Mr. Eric Voss from New Rockstars and get a breakdown on the stuff that we missed in this episode. And so let's pull that up real quick, and let's see what he got to say about this stuff. Because I played the game, but now I'm getting to the point where it's getting kind of muddy from memory and everything. So I really wish I still had my PlayStation. I would have
I'm
went back
Eric
and played
Voss,
it.
and this is a breakdown of The Last of Us Episode 5, Endure and Survive. An episode that players of the game were dreading the most, preceded by the gnarliest bloodbath we've seen on this show yet. This series is so
was crazy.
Good, it's hard not to feel the same bleakness that our heroes feel, and I honestly don't feel like making any quippy joke right now. Forgive me, but what I can do is take you back through this episode, scene by scene, to point out the incredible attention to detail and things that you might have missed. So we open in Kansas City on the night Kathleen's revolutionary movement overthrew Fedra, and we are thrust into the horrific violence that insurrections tend to be. The opening shot is a single red flare fired into the night sky like celebratory fireworks, but a flare is really designed to be an SOS signal. A beacon, as in these revolutionaries are morally lost, their souls beyond saving. The flare and its smoke trail also reminds me of a fungal stalk, which my interview with a cordyceps expert said in some cases can shoot upward with the speed of a gun. The Pilobolus fungus Clickers, considered one
Yeah, I've
of the
heard about that.
fastest organisms on Earth. So think about that in context of how fast the Clickers and Bloater in
Woo,
this
nobody
regime
moved out
later
there,
this
man. I
episode.
would
The
shit
crowd
my
chants,
pants.
freedom and you, Fedra. And last breakdown, I compared Kathleen to America after 9/11, the Nazis making lists of names over their takeover of Europe, the Israelis getting revenge on Nazi doctors, and really what we're seeing here
It's human
is
nature,
January
man.
6th if it wasn't stopped. Whenever throughout history and wherever throughout the world, revenge-fueled violence is humanity at its scariest.
I
One
mean-
Fedra soldier has a bullet hole in his temple, executed the way the South Vietnamese police chief executed Viet Cong captain in 1968. The famous photo, the mini-say, changed public sentiment about
Yeah.
who were the good guys and the bad guys in the war in Vietnam. Henry will tragically do this to himself, which grimly forces us to question justice and morality in this post-apocalypse.
It's such a good
insurrectionists
scene.
are
I mean, bad
laughing
scene.
as they slaughter Fedra soldiers, stripping them down, hanging them.
Remind me
dragging
of
their
like
nailed bodies to the
Somalia
streets. They
and
announce-
Iraq.
As we see later with Kathleen, the
Like,
trial
them
is
dragging
not
the
at all
soldiers
fair.
along
And
this
it's
side
interesting that
was
they
like
code
Iraq
the
and,
Fedra
like,
loyalists
Somalia.
as collaborators. Collaboration normally having a positive connotation for community building, but in this short-sighted movement's lexicon, a form of evil. Melanie Linsky plays Kathleen with an eerie suburban calmness, as opposed to the gruff energy female revolutionaries sometimes have in media.
Well, I'm not Fedra. Lucky for you.
I still don't know
No
how I
one here
felt about
has to
her. I
die.
feel like she was too
We could
nice.
put you on trial.
You know?
You're all guilty, so that's how that'll go.
But-
And you'll do some time, easy.
But at the same
Yikes,
time,
way
that-
she has already made up her mind. Actually,
that whole
Melanie
nice
Linsky
is
had an
kinda more
amazing Twitter
sinister.
thread explaining how Kathleen is not the coolest or the toughest person. She's the organizer, the planner, multitasker. And for better or worse, this group listened to the person with the best ideas of how to get shit done. Now, one prisoner gives up Dr. Edelstein, who is helping Henry hide.
Hold up. Where?
He didn't say.
I'm not saying like the actress is bad. I'm just
Swear,
saying
I
like
told you everything I know.
I don't know.
Of course
I'm
you
50-50 about
You're a
her.
rat.
The
Oh,
character.
rat. Another nod to Hans Landa, who in the Inglourious Basterds
She's not from the
seemed
game.
liken himself to a hawk and Jewish people to rats, giving his take on the Nazi propaganda that did as much. Kathleen's Lieutenant Perry is played by Jeffrey Pierce, who voiced Joel's brother Tommy in the game. Perry doesn't want to devote all the men to hunting Henry.
Door to door take a lot of men, and there are other things that probably.
He's not my 7th priority, Perry.
Number one.
Is that what he is to you?
Kathleen is so blinded by revenge, and she has no real
Yeah,
plan to maintain
she got real
stability in
sinister at it
KC, a
again.
blindness that will do all of them in this episode. Henry and Sam in the game are brothers Joel and Ellie meet in Pittsburgh. They're originally from Hartford, but here the show gives them more of a backstory in KC and a connection to Kathleen and her brother Michael. They meet Dr.
I like
Edelstein
I like
in the
that
hideaway
story.
that Perry and Kathleen will find seen last episode.
Is he scared?
Yeah. Well, he saw a lot. Nothing I can do about that now.
He's scared because you're scared.
Good advice from this doctor. Kids often don't have context in the
they
chaos
pick
of the
off what
world, and
the
they look
adults
to their
are.
guardians for how to emotionally respond. If the parent panics, the kid will panic. And I love that in the panic of their escape, Henry knew to pack Sam's bag of crayons among the other essentials. That giving this kid something to focus on is as important as food and other supplies. This gives Sam the opportunity to cover the surfaces with art that reframes the outside world as a positive place. Kind of like the mother and son characters in the movie and book Room, where they transformed their prison into the boundaries of
I've
the
never seen
entire
that movie.
world. And hey, by the way, I am wearing our Last of Us inspired shirt that you can get from our merch partners at
That shirt
nerdriot.shop.
looks
Getting
pretty
these
fire,
is one
ain't
great
gonna
way
lie.
to help support this channel. Okay, 10 days later tells us that in the time span from Revolution Night to Joel and Ellie's arrival in Kansas City and that suburb outbreak is only a week and a half. That is how long Kathleen's regime lasted.
been
Sam's
quick.
drawings show Super Sam
Yeah.
fighting Fedra soldiers. So Sam had the same enemy that Kathleen had. He doesn't fully understand that Henry sold out Kathleen's brother Michael to Fedra, and now that's why Kathleen is hunting them. And notice how by this time, Sam is now painting an orange border around Super Sam, showing how he recognizes he and Henry are boxed in. The next day, Henry says they're out of food, and Sam asks if they killed Dr. Edelstein. Henry says probably yes. Remembering Edelstein's advice,
Being
Henry
awesome.
keeps Sam feeling confident by painting an orange superhero mask on his face, which also gives Henry some confidence when he looks down at his brother. We realize this is the same moment Joel and Ellie are crashing through. And I love the point of view work across these two episodes. Last episode, from Ellie's point of view, we didn't see Joel shoot that second hunter, and now we do see that from Henry's
Oh,
point
yeah.
of view. And now when Joel looks over in
I
his
like
direction,
that.
Henry ducks. Last episode, you can see that same white door across the street with the 5 box windows that Henry was looking out of, but at that point we didn't know Henry was there. Henry gives Sam one of 2 unloaded guns that he and Edelstein pointed at
I
each
like
other.
seeing
So
the-
if you think
the same
Edelstein
story
left them with
from
that
different people's
gun, had
perspective.
Edelstein kept that gun, he might have been able to escape from the revolutionaries, or at least to fool them. But when Henry gives his brother the gun, it mirrors what Joel did with Ellie, and he tells Sam to hold it firm, but he doesn't tell him to use 2 hands. That's something that Sam does on his own, which makes Joel less likely to try anything. I love how Joel refuses to warm his tone.
That's right.
It's a weird
tone, man.
That's just the way he sounds. He has an asshole voice. Joel, tell him he's okay.
Everything is great.
Dude.
Yeah, if you think about it, Joel is intentionally staying cold for that line, "Everything's great," just to psych out Henry. The next morning, Henry gives Joel a view of the city.
Welcome to Killer City.
No, Fedra.
Not as of 10 days ago, no.
You always heard Casey and Fedra was...
Monsters, savages. Yeah, you heard right. Raped and tortured and murdered people for 20 years. Hey, you know what happens when you do that to people?
Yeah.
The moment they get a chance,
You
they
fight
get right
back.
back to you.
Yeah, Killa City is a nickname given to KC, popularized by rapper Fat Tone's track Killa City, which did come out after 2003, but probably would have been a nickname locals used before then. The fact that Joel had heard of the KC Fedra's reputation tells us how horrible of a life Kathleen and those revolutionaries must have lived under to
Yeah.
get them to that point.
I
Henry
mean, you kind of
says,
see their point, their side of
You
it.
seem capable enough, you're armed.
You're wrong. You're
Can't
wrong.
say I wouldn't be a
Kill
part of
anyone.
resistance.
And pointing an unloaded gun at you is the closest I've ever come to being violent.
Yeah, Henry's making a major admission here that their guns were not loaded. So Joel isn't really pissed. He recognizes here that Henry can be trusted. Henry draws them a map and explains how to cross the highway by throwing to Sam, who writes tunnels on his Woody Woodpecker doodle pad. And I love this detail because one, it establishes this as how Sam communicates, and two, demonstrates the tunnel route as one a kid like Sam is not afraid of, so Joel and Ellie are more likely to see it as safe. Henry says that Fedra drove all the infected underground 15 years prior and claims that they cleared it out 3 years ago, and admits that in the meantime a few more might have gone down there.
Or one of those blind ones that sees like a bat.
You ran into a clicker,
2 of them.
and you're still alive.
Yeah, I think this is the first time the show has used the term
Well,
clicker
yeah,
from the
clicker, I think
game,
it
which
is.
also signals to gamers that they are going to be following the infected progression from the game, which includes the next stage, bloaters. That plus the fact that he said it was 15 years since the infected were bottled up underground tells us
It
that
makes
that's
sense
plenty of
that
time
blo-
for one of
for a
them to
bloater,
bloat.
yep.
As they navigate the tunnels, I love how Joel sounds like a gamer who has died playing The Last of Us several times.
See? It's empty. The plan is good.
The plan is good. We've been down here 2 seconds. We don't know anything.
It's kind of a pessimist.
I'm not
my
her dad.
Yes, both Ellie and Joel are on the same page that Joel, for now, sees Ellie as cargo still. They reach its entrance that's painted to look like a happy kingdom, which looks exactly like the entrance to the underground
Yeah.
Pittsburgh area where Danny and Ish live. And inside, they find a kid's drawing of Danny and Ish, our protectors, just
I
like the
didn't
one
even
you
see
find
that.
in the game. So Ish was a fisherman who had been out to sea for several months during the outbreak and returned to shore near a Pittsburgh sewer entrance. And there, he established a community with another guy named Danny and Susan and Kyle and their kids and several others. But at some point, a door was left open, and Ish and Susan and the kids escaped and made it out to the suburbs. After that, their fate is unknown. We see that hinted at by the rules here, and Joel hints at that.
I heard about places like this. People went underground after outbreak day, built settlements.
What happened to them?
Maybe they didn't follow the rules and they all got infected.
Actually,
Yeah.
Ish's name was a nod to Isherman Ish Williams in George R. Stewart's 1949 post-apocalyptic novel Earth Abides, in which this guy, Ish, leads a similar community of pandemic survivors. Now, here in Kansas City, Ish probably would not have been a fisherman who was out to sea. But
Yeah, I know,
now
yeah.
the uniforms make a bit more
Cops.
sense. Make me
Cops.
think that Ish and Danny might have been Fedra soldiers, in the show at least, who broke away from the more awful rest of Kansas City Fedra. Sam and Ellie find a Savage Starlight comic. This is an in-universe comic series in the game, following Dr. Daniela Starr, space adventurer in 2186. This episode's title, Endure and Survive, comes from the trophy that you get in the games if you collect all these comics, which is why Ellie is so stoked to talk about her collection.
No way! I love these! I have issues
4, 5, 6, 11.
5, 6, 11.
Issue 11 you can find upon leaving Pittsburgh in the game after escaping the hunters and washing ashore on the beach. It's in the wrecked boat. But she says she has issue 5, and issue 5 in the game isn't found until way later in Tommy's Dam. This issue is Accretion. You see the title at the bottom there. That is issue 6, in which Daniela and Captain Ryan are thrown into an arena where the hostile extraterrestrials, the Travelers, make them fight to the death.
I like these
You can
little
say there's a
details they're
parallel in
doing,
the way
man.
that Ellie and Sam are thrown into a death arena. As Ellie and Sam recite the Endure and Survive creed from the comics, behind them on the wall, the Pats kids drew stick figures of an older girl and a younger boy that parallel Ellie and Sam in this moment. Joel apologized for assuming Henry was untrustworthy.
All things considered, seems kind of cruel to send a whole army after
But
you
he's
for
dealing with his
that.
own guilt.
Henry doesn't let Joel let him off the hook. He's still punishing himself for betraying Michael in order to get leukemia medication for Sam from Fedra.
There was a man, a great man,
It was a man, a great
never
man.
afraid, never selfish, and he was always forgiving. Have you ever met someone like that? Kind of man you'd follow anywhere.
Melanie Linsky said in an interview that Kathleen's brother was considered a Jesus figure, and so that metaphor would make Henry the Judas Iscariot, who was the apostle who turned in Jesus and in the New Testament committed suicide.
I am the bad guy because I did a bad guy thing. But you get it, though. You might not be her father,
Ugh.
but you were someone's.
We learned last episode that Joel has been both a black hat and a white hat, that he previously faked being injured to lure people into a trap, but it's worth noting that Joel did not do these bad things to protect Sarah. Sarah was gone at that point. He didn't even have protecting a kid as an excuse. Perry finds Kathleen in Michael's childhood room where a soccer photo is still on the wall, and she says,
When Michael and I were little, this room seemed so big. I was really scared of thunder. So when there was a storm, Michael told me that this wasn't a room at all. That this was actually just a big wooden box. A big wooden box that nothing could get inside of. He said, as long as we were together in our perfect box,
His older brother.
we would be safe.
pretty sad for Kathleen to feel this way, even after seeing Sam and Henry's hideout last episode and realized that Henry had been doing the same exact thing for Sam to protect
protecting
him.
his brother.
That is the point. Michael's death proved to Kathleen that his forgiveness, his turn the other cheek mindset, did not help him survive this backwards world. So here, by agreeing that they're doing the right thing, both she and Perry are sealing their moral fates. The others make it to the suburbs across the highway, but a sniper starts firing on them. Henry tries to run away with Sam.
Let's go. What are you doing? I know. Why would you have your worst shot up there?
Yeah, notice how Henry reacts to the gunshot. Sam doesn't. He just reacts to Henry. Tells us how confusing this all must be for this deaf kid. Joel sneaks up behind the shooter and begs him not to make him kill him.
Please don't do it. Please.
Yeah, interesting again how we cut away from Joel killing someone. The second hunter that Joel shot last episode, that guy Brian who he stabbed, were both off screen. Those were only experienced from Ellie's point of view, just like this killing is here. Only Joel's pummeling of that Fedra soldier in episode 1 do we see because Ellie sees it. Joel's violence is only depicted when it has a role in activating Ellie's violence. Joel screams, "Run!" which at first the kids don't hear because it's too far away until it's too late and the plow is barreling through the cars. It too has "Run" spray painted on it. The tension is so nerve-wracking, especially when the rifle jams. And immediately after it jams, we cut back to the word "run" on the plow as if it is Joel's mental scream to Ellie. But that jam provides a pause for Joel to collect his breath and re-aim, so the next shot he fires takes out the plow driver. Henry asks Kathleen to at least let the kids go, but Kathleen refuses to accept Henry's
This
argument
crazy
that doing
bitch.
anything to save a kid is worth it.
But did you ever stop to think that maybe he was supposed to die? Well, kids die, Henry. They
Fuck
die all the time. You think the whole world revolves around him? That he's worth everything?
During
Yes.
this morally bankrupt line, which Melanie Lynskey delivers perfectly without an ounce of remorse, we cut to Joel, who is doing the same thing for Ellie. Their entire relationship with Henry and Sam is designed to force Joel to think about his relationship with Ellie. Kathleen believes she is the one delivering Henry's rightful fate,
It ends the way it ends.
but Kathleen fails to see her own rightful fate. Warned to her last episode with that pulsing hellmouth back in the city, that Fedra didn't really clear all the infected, they just moved them. The burning plow truck has damaged the basement of this house, and that heavy-ass truck caves a hole into the sewers below, and...
This scene was crazy. Freaking stampede.
I love how fast those infected geyser up out of the hole all at once. From Joel's high angle, you can see one of them running in his direction, still on fire. Much like the experience you would have playing some parts of the game, Joel is stuck on one perch, having to shoot infected to keep Ellie safe in
Yeah.
another area. The
Just like
enemy
the fucking
makes it seem
game.
like he and Ellie are starting to share a hive mind,
Just like
all
the game.
pieces of the fungus do. He sees Ellie looking at an open vehicle window, and his eyes dart over to it. He's just somehow able to know where she needs to go and clears a path for her. And then we see it. The bloater
bloater.
rises up from
You
the
look
pit.
so good.
Bloaters are the stage of
So
infected
good.
after
I mean, it
clippers,
looks
in which
just like
fungus
the game.
continues to build on the body over 10 years, forming a kind of armor resistant to gunfire. And I love that the show designers kept his sagging belly, like bloaters have in the game, though bloaters in the game aren't this tall. They don't seem strong enough to lift people in the air like this, but they can totally rip your jaw apart and smash your skull. Perry gets his attention, and as Kathleen flees, we see it ripping Perry's head off. It is wild. And I do love that, as is sometimes the case in the game, the bloater is not taken down. The last time we see that swarming street, the bloater is still walking around. Joel is so shaken by seeing this bloater that he loses sight of the one clicker small enough to fit in that vehicle window, a young girl. This clicker is actually played by young actress Sky Bell Cowton, who is an accomplished gymnast. Ellie is able to evade her,
God,
but
so,
when
like,
Kathleen
proportionate, 'cause
catches
the way she
them,
moves around
it
a
is
seat.
that same girl clicker who gets her. Bit of irony considering Kathleen previously considered kids' lives unimportant.
Exactly.
In the motel afterwards, while Ellie reads the comic to him, Sam looks uninterested because he knows he has been infected at this point. He writes, "If you turn into a monster, is it still you inside?" A similar fear that Ellie had when she previously asked Joel about this,
So
and then was
sad.
able to investigate when she sliced open that infected in the convenience store basement. But on a deeper level, this is also a thematic question. If you start to act monstrously, are you the same human you once were? Does our monstrosity come from some natural external evil separate from us? Or do we innately invite the monstrosity to take us over by some force of destiny, maybe natural selection, as a result of our natural affinity for monstrosity that was always inside us so that we reconnect with nature? This is the sort of question posed by Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, Richard Matheson's I Am Legend, even with Robert Kirkman's decision to title it The Walking Dead, The Walking Dead referring to the human survivors of that story. Ultimately, it's human vanity to consider our souls exceptional above nature, and these monsters are nature's way of rebalancing the status quo. We
I
are
guess
the
so.
monsters. We are legend, and that was always us inside. It
I will
just,
say, yeah,
really
we-
sucks to see this happen to a kid. Ellie cuts her hand.
Humans can
hoping
be
her
great,
blood will cure
and we
him,
can be
but
monsters.
It does not work that way. And Ellie awakens to see Sam sitting facing the sun, maybe reacting to the sunlight, the same way the infected in episode 2 turned into the sun.
And he was
Henry
deaf.
grabs a gun. At first seems like he's going to shoot Joel, but then instinctively shoots Sam. And then, flooded with despair, that Kathleen might have been right, that maybe it wasn't all worth it, he makes a decision to end it. This is
Look in his
mostly how it
eyes,
goes down,
man.
I think. And I think it might have been just too much to change Henry and Sam's fate, because the truth is, yeah, this is a bleak world. And Joel, for his future path, needs
I'm
to
glad
be
they didn't change
conflicted
that
with
part.
the possibility that putting everything on
They
the line
had to
for
keep
a
that
kid
in.
might not be worth it. Looking back, giving Bill and Frank
That's a
happy
big
ending in
moment. That's
episode
a big
3
moment
was
in the game.
desperately needed for this HBO series, because otherwise it would have been one bleak suicide after another. Ellie leaves Sam's notepad on its grave with "I'm sorry" written on it. And I think what's even sadder for me, the way she wrapped the string around the top and tucks it in so that no one else will ever be able to write anything else. Joel was wrong that it's easier for kids because no one is depending on them, because kids can sometimes feel that responsibility too, as Ellie
Yeah.
did as a big sister to Sam. By trying to give her blood to Sam, she really thought that she might cure him. And by asking which way is west, she's not burying her grief. She is furious with herself and desperate to find a doctor who could turn her blood into a cure to prevent this shit from happening ever again. And Joel and Henry were also wrong that endure and survive was redundant and didn't make sense. It does make sense. The two
Yeah.
words are different things. To survive is to just stave off death, but to endure is to emotionally
going.
burden oneself
Keep
and
going,
to tolerate
yeah.
the pain
And
of
keep
survival.
going.
And as these two characters walk this path, they must both endure and survive. Please subscribe to The Deep Dive. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at EABoss. Follow New Rockstars and subscribe to New
Another good breakdown from Mr. Eric Ross, New Rockstars. I mean, yeah. Again, that ending was very emotional. I was all teary-eyed watching it. Another solid episode. Show was doing good. We're at the halfway point now. I think it was 10 episodes. So yeah, we're at the halfway point. I'm loving the show. Leave a comment down below, guys, what you guys think. Have you been watching the show? Have you played the game? Let me guys know what you think. If you haven't played the game, let me know if you're watching the show, what you think. Till next time, guys, I'll see you when I see you. Peace.